What if one morning, the world forgot how to wake up? No alarms, no rush, no noise, just silence. In a small mountain town of Europe, nothing moved. No birds, no footsteps, no voices. The streets were empty, shops unopened, homes untouched. The sun rose quietly, casting soft golden light across the rooftops. But everyone was still asleep. Not the peaceful kind of sleep. This was deeper, still, unnatural. A traveler named Elio arrived on the morning train. He expected breakfast, maybe some coffee. Instead, he stepped into a city that felt frozen in time. Eyes closed, hearts beating. But no one woke up. Not the children, not the elderly, not even the dogs. Elio stood alone, his footsteps the only sound. And then it hit him. Was he the only one awake on Earth? Elio walked down the cobbled path, the sound of his footsteps echoing like thunder in the stillness. He passed a bakery. The door was wide open. Loaves of bread lay untouched on wooden shelves, still warm. Behind the counter, a woman stood, eyes closed, hands frozen mid-motion, as if she had been serving someone just seconds ago. He whispered, "Hello?" No answer. Elio's breath grew heavier. This wasn't sleep. It was as if time had paused, and only he had slipped through the crack. He checked his phone. No signal, no Wi-Fi, no messages. The city felt abandoned, but every person was still here, frozen, breathing, silent, like life had paused, but death hadn't come. Elio stepped back, heart pounding louder with each breath. He turned the corner onto Maple Street, hoping to find someone, anyone, moving. There was a young boy sitting on a red tricycle, eyes closed, head gently resting on the handlebars. His ice cream had melted down the cone, dripping onto the pavement. Elio knelt beside him. The boy's chest rose and fell slowly. Alive, but unreachable. A clock tower in the distance struck 9. The sound echoed through the town like a lonely bell in a forgotten church. Elio looked up. Birds sat on the wires, still as stone. Even the wind had stopped. It was as if the entire world was waiting for something. Or someone. And Elio had no idea what that was. Elio walked into the town square. Statues of people, but they weren't made of stone. They were real. A couple frozen mid-laugh on a bench. A man holding out a coin to a street musician. A girl reaching for a pigeon that didn't fly away. Everything was alive, yet untouched. Elio called out again. "Can anyone hear me?" His voice bounced off the buildings, unanswered. He felt the weight of the silence pressing against his chest. Then he noticed something. In the middle of the fountain stood a pocket watch. Old, silver, ticking. It was the only sound moving forward. Tick, tick, tick. He stepped closer. The hands were spinning backward. Elio stared at the watch, hypnotized by its reverse motion. Time itself was unraveling. And this watch knew something he didn't. He reached out slowly, fingers trembling. The moment his hand touched the metal, a cold jolt surged through his body. Like touching a memory that wasn't his. A flash. A woman's voice whispered, "Don't wake them." Then silence. Elio stumbled back, heart racing. He looked around, everything was still frozen. But now, the shadows had shifted. Just slightly, as if something in the city had noticed him and was watching. Elio backed away from the fountain, his pulse quickening. The whisper echoed in his mind. Don't wake them. Who was the voice? And why was she warning him? He glanced up at the sky. The clouds hadn't moved. Even the sun seemed stuck. Time wasn't passing. It was looping, or holding its breath. He entered a nearby bookstore. Dust floated in the air like frozen snow. Books were open on tables, chairs pulled out, a coffee mug still steaming beside a novel. Elio called again, softer now. Is anyone awake? Then he heard it. A soft creak from the stairs above. Elio froze. The sound had been real, not imagined, not a memory. Something or someone had moved. He climbed the stairs, each step groaning under his weight. The second floor was dim, lit only by the soft blue glow of a skylight. Books lined the walls. A cat slept on the windowsill, unmoving like the rest. But then another creak, this time closer. He followed the sound to a door slightly ajar. He pushed it open. Inside sat a girl, maybe 10 years old, awake, wide-eyed, alert, terrified. She looked at him and whispered the first real words he had heard all day. You're not supposed to be here. Elio stepped into the room slowly, his voice low. You can see me. The girl nodded, clutching a worn teddy bear to her chest. Her eyes darted toward the window, as if something outside might hear them. I've been hiding, she whispered, since the bell stopped. What bells? Elio asked. She pointed toward the mountains. There used to be 3. One for morning, one for night, and one for protection. Her voice trembled. But yesterday, the 3rd one cracked. Elio felt a chill crawl down his spine. And then what happened? They all fell asleep, she said. Everyone, except me, and now you. She looked up at him, eyes wide. But they'll know you're awake now. Elio crouched beside her. Who are they? He asked softly. The ones who'll know I'm awake. The girl didn't answer right away. She stared at her bear, tracing its stitched ear with one finger. Then she whispered, they were once people, like us. His breath caught. What happened to them? They listened to the wrong voice, she said. The one in the mirror. Elio blinked. The mirror? She nodded. There's one in every house. If you look too long, it talks back. And when you answer, you forget who you are. Outside, a gust of wind finally moved the curtains. Elio stood up slowly. I think I need to see that mirror. Elio left the room with the girl trailing silently behind him. They stepped out into the hallway, the air colder now, as if something ancient had begun to stir. He entered the nearest house. It looked just like the others, still lives frozen in time. Half-eaten meals, warm jackets on hooks, candles unlit. In the living room he found it. A tall mirror, dustless, clear, waiting. He approached slowly, pulse steady but mind racing. His reflection stared back at him. But something was wrong. It blinked. He didn't. Then it smiled. Not friendly, not human. A whisper filled the room. "You're not awake. You're just next." Elio stumbled back from the mirror, breath caught in his throat. His reflection didn't follow. It stood still, smiling, watching. Then it moved on its own. Not a trick of the light, not imagination. The mirrored Elio leaned forward, hands pressed against the glass from the inside. Its lips moved. No sound. Just 3 words. He leaned in closer, straining to read them. "Let me in." Behind him, the girl screamed. "Don't listen. It's how they start." Elio spun around, but in that split second, the mirror cracked. Just slightly. A single thin line running down the center. The glass whispered, "Time is soft here." The girl grabbed Elio's hand. "We have to go," she whispered. "If the crack grows, it pulls more in." "More what?" he asked. "Memories, people, time." Elio looked back at the mirror. The crack had grown longer, curling like a vein. Inside the glass, images began to shimmer. A woman crying beside a clock. A child running from shadows. Elio himself, standing in a room he didn't remember. "Those aren't real," he said. "They are," the girl replied. "But not all of them are yours." The mirror pulsed softly, like a heartbeat. She pulled him away. "If we stay, it'll feed on us. You don't forget all at once. You fade." And Elio wasn't ready to disappear. They ran into the street, the sky above turning pale and strange. Clouds moved in slow spirals. Colors had softened, like an old painting left in the sun. Elio tried to catch his breath. "Where do we go now?" The girl pointed toward the hill beyond the town. "There's a place they can't reach. Not yet. It's where the last bell was made." He glanced back. The mirror house was still standing, but now the windows reflected things that weren't outside. Forests, tunnels, ice. "I don't even know your name," Elio said as they walked. She looked up at him. "My name used to be Anna, but I think the town is forgetting me too." Elio felt a chill. He didn't want to forget her. Not her. Not himself. As they climbed the hill, the wind began to whisper. Not a breeze. A voice. Faint. Layered. Calling names that weren't theirs. Elio turned to look behind. Down in the town, something moved. Not walking. Not running. Sliding. A shadow without shape. Dragging silence behind it. Anna stopped. "They've noticed you now." Elio swallowed hard. "What are they?" She didn't answer at first. Just stared at the growing stain crawling up the cobbled street. "Then," she whispered, "they're what's left when people forget who they are." The sky darkened just slightly, as if the town had blinked. And when it opened its eyes again, something was closer. They reached the edge of the forest that crowned the hill. The trees here were tall and still, their bark etched with symbols Elio couldn't read. Anna moved with quiet purpose, like she'd been here before. Elio followed, glancing back one last time. The town below looked peaceful again, but only from a distance. He could still feel it breathing, waiting. At the heart of the tree stood an old stone tower. Its door was half buried in moss, the handle wrapped in red thread. Anna stopped before it. "This is where the last bell was forged," she said. "They built it to protect the town from the voice in the mirror." Elio stepped closer. "Then why did it crack?" She looked down. "Because someone rang it to forget, and the sound never stopped echoing." The door creaked as Elio pushed it open. Inside, the air was heavy, like walking into a dream that never ended. Dust floated like stars in dim light. Wooden stairs spiraled upward, vanishing into shadow. Anna stayed at the threshold. "I can't go in," she said quietly. "It doesn't let me." "Why not?" Elio asked. "I've already heard the bell once," she replied. "If I hear it again, I won't come back." Elio hesitated, but something pulled him forward. A sense of unfinished sound. He climbed the stairs slowly. Each step groaned under forgotten weight. Paintings lined the walls, faces he didn't recognize, but one of them looked a lot like him. At the top, he found it. The final bell. Cracked. Silent. And somehow still ringing inside his mind. Elio stepped closer to the bell. It was massive, dark bronze, with carvings worn down by time. His fingertips brushed its cold surface. Suddenly, sound returned. Not loud, not clear, but layered voices, like memories trapped in echo. He staggered back. The whispers were calling his name. Not once, many times. Different tones, different ages. "Elio?" Some pleading, some warning, one laughing. He pressed his hands to his ears, but the sound was inside him now. Visions flashed behind his eyes. A train. A mirror. A promise made and broken. Then silence. Elio opened his eyes. Someone stood beside the bell. He hadn't heard them enter. And the figure looked exactly like him. Elio stared at the figure. Same face, same eyes. But something behind them was empty. The other Elio tilted his head, almost curious. "You're late," he said. Elio took a step back. "Who are you?" The reflection smiled. "I'm the part that stayed behind. The part that listened. The part you forgot." His voice was gentle but wrong. Like a song played backwards. "You weren't supposed to come back," the reflection added. "This place was made to keep you dreaming." Elio's pulse quickened. "I don't belong here." The reflection stepped closer. "No. But now that you're awake, one of us has to stay." The bell pulsed. The crack deepened, and the tower began to hum. The tower trembled softly, like it was holding its breath. Elio stood frozen, his reflection blocking the stairs behind him. "You don't understand," Elio said. "I didn't choose this place." "But you stayed," the reflection replied. "Long enough for the town to remember you." The bell gave a low groan, its surface glowing faintly. Elio could feel his thoughts slipping names, faces, moments like pages torn from a book. The reflection stepped forward. "You've heard the bell. Now, you're part of the silence." "No," Elio whispered. "I'm not done." He reached into his pocket, pulling out the old silver watch. Its hands were spinning again. But this time they were moving forward. And the tower didn't like that. The moment the watch ticked forward, The bell let out a deep, fractured note. The sound wasn't loud. It was low, aching, like the earth groaning in its sleep. The reflection flinched, eyes darkening, smile fading. "You brought time with you," it hissed out. "That's not allowed here." Elio gripped the watch tightly. "It remembers what I've forgotten." The tower began to shift, walls cracking, paintings bleeding light, and the air thickened, like swimming through memory. The reflection lunged. But the moment he touched Elio, the watch flared white. A flash, a scream, and silence. When Elio opened his eyes, he was alone at the top of the tower. No reflection, no whisper, just the watch and the sound of footsteps below. Elio stood still, heart pounding. The air in the tower had changed. It wasn't frozen anymore. It was breathing. He moved toward the stairway, the watch still warm in his palm. Each step down felt heavier than the last, like the weight of forgotten time pressed against him. Halfway down, he heard it. Footsteps. Not his, not Anna's. Measured. Deliberate. Wrong. He stopped and listened. The sound stopped too. He took another step. So did it. A mirror at the landing caught a shape behind him. Tall. Shadowed. Smiling. But when he turned around, nothing was there. Only the whisper of the bell's final echo in his bones. Elio stepped outside the tower, squinting into the soft light. Anna was waiting, sitting beneath an old tree, arms wrapped around her knees. She looked up as he approached. "You heard it, didn't you?" He nodded. "It tried to keep me." She stood, brushing leaves from her dress. "It always does. But something changed. The air feels louder." They both looked back at the tower. Its windows were now mirrors each, reflecting different skies, different seasons. Elio held up the watch. It moved forward. "I think it broke something." Anna's face grew pale. "You didn't break it. You woke it." The clouds above them shifted. And somewhere deep within the town, a second bell, one no one had spoken of, began to ring. The sound rolled through the hills like thunder wrapped in velvet. It wasn't sharp. It wasn't loud. But it stirred something ancient in the soil beneath their feet. Anna grabbed Elio's arm. "No one knows where that bell is. It was never supposed to ring." Elio looked towards the town. Streets shimmered. Buildings flickered in and out, like memories half recalled. "What happens now?" he asked. Anna's voice shook. "If it keeps ringing, the town might wake up." But not as it was. Elio stared at the watch again. Its hands had stopped, perfectly still. And behind them, a single word had appeared on the glass. "Remember?" Then the sky cracked open, not with lightning, but with light that looked like time bleeding through. The light spilled across the valley, bending the shadows into shapes that didn't belong. Elio shielded his eyes. Within the glow, buildings twisted. Familiar streets folded like pages. Statues blinked. Anna whispered, "It's rewriting itself." The second bell tolled again. With each chime, the town changed. A bakery turned into a burned chapel. A fountain became a staircase into nothing. and the mirrors, they multiplied. In windows, in puddles, in the eyes of the frozen townspeople. Elio stepped back. This isn't waking up. It's collapsing. Anna turned to him. If we don't stop the bell, we won't just be forgotten. She pointed to the forest. There's a path that only opens when the second bell rings. Elio tightened his grip on the watch. Then let's find it, before the town remembers us wrong. They crossed into the forest, where the trees leaned inward, as if listening. The air was different here, thick with memory, alive with things that hadn't happened yet. The path beneath their feet wasn't made of dirt or stone, but of flickering moments. Footprints that vanished. Laughter without source. Whispers that sounded like their own voices, just out of sync. Anna paused. This place shows you the pieces you left behind. Elio looked down. The ground reflected a scene, his childhood bedroom. His mother's hand on his shoulder. His face at the window, watching a storm. He blinked, and it was gone. They're not real, he said. Anna nodded. But they remember you. Ahead, the path split in two, and both sides whispered his name. Elio stood between the two paths. To the left, a warm glow, soft voices, the scent of bread and books, and something that felt like home. To the right, a cold breeze, silence, and the faint sound of the second bell. Fading, calling. Anna looked at him. They're both real, but only one leads to what's next. Elio stared into the left path. He saw his father reading on the porch. A birthday cake, a version of himself laughing without weight. Then he looked right. Empty, unknown, but alive. He turned to Anna. Which one would you take? She answered without hesitation. The hard one. The one that doesn't lie to you. Elio nodded once and stepped into the dark. The moment Elio stepped into the right path, the light behind him vanished. The warmth, the laughter, gone like a story no one finished reading. The forest deepened. Branches curled like questions. The air pulsed with quiet dread. Anna followed close behind, her footsteps light but certain. No words passed between them now. Only breath and heartbeat. Ahead, the path narrowed, and in its center stood a figure. Not shadow, not light, just stillness. Wrapped in the shape of a man. A mirror for a face. Anna froze. It's one of them, she whispered. A keeper. Elio stepped forward. The figure raised a hand, palm open. And in it was Elio's name. Written in smoke, fading slowly, letter by letter. Elio stared at the smoke in the keeper's hand. His name unraveled like thread in wind. Each fading letter tugged at something inside him, a voice, a face, a promise he couldn't place. The keeper spoke without moving. One memory for the path, one truth for one step. Anna grabbed Elio's arm. You don't have to give it. We can turn back. But Elio knew this was the price. Not gold, not time, but pieces of himself. He looked the keeper in the mirrored face. I'll give you the first time I was afraid of the dark. The keeper closed its hand. The smoke vanished. And the path opened again, but something inside Elio did not follow. A silence settled in him, familiar and suddenly permanent. With the path open again, they walked in silence. But Elio felt it, a small emptiness where a memory used to live. He couldn't recall why the dark had scared him, only that something was missing. Anna glanced at him. They take gently at first, but each one leaves a space. "How many have you given?" he asked. She didn't answer. Up ahead, more keepers waited. Each stood still, holding nothing, asking for everything. The next whispered, "One memory, one regret, one truth you've buried." Elio closed his eyes. He offered the day he said goodbye to someone he once loved, but no longer remembered who. The keeper nodded, and the path bent forward again, growing darker, more silent. And now, even the trees had stopped breathing. They walked deeper into the hush. No leaves rustled, no birds called. Even their footsteps seemed swallowed by the path. Elio felt lighter, not in body and memory. He tried to remember the name of his childhood street. Gone. The taste of his favorite food. Gone. He looked at Anna. Her face flickered for a moment. Familiar, then foreign. He stopped. "Am I still me?" Anna stepped close, touching his hand. "You are what you carry, even when you can't name it." Elio looked down at the watch. Still, its hands unmoving. But now the reflection in its glass wasn't his. It was the face of a child, crying, alone, and it whispered one word. Home? Elio couldn't look away from the watch. The crying child inside the glass pressed its hand against the surface. Tears blurred its face, but the eyes were unmistakable. They were his. Anna leaned in. "What do you see?" Elio hesitated. "I think it's the part of me I left behind." The path around them shifted, trees bending inward, roots curling like fingers, and shadows taking shape. The forest was remembering too. They moved forward, and now the path showed flickers with every step. A forgotten birthday, a broken toy, a goodbye whispered in sleep. Anna whispered, "The deeper you go, the more memory becomes map." Elio held the watch close to her chest. "I just hope the map still leads somewhere." Then, ahead, a gate appeared. Old, locked, and carved with names that didn't exist anymore. The gate loomed tall and rusted, wrapped in vines that whispered when the wind touched them. Elio approached carefully. The names carved into the wood shifted as he looked, sliding, fading, reappearing. None stayed the same for long. Anna stood beside him. "This is the threshold. Beyond it, we don't just walk forward. We walk deeper." "How do we open it?" Elio asked. "The gate doesn't open to people," she said. "It opens to what they've lost." Elio reached for the handle, but it vanished beneath his hand. Then the vines untangled. One curled gently around his wrist. A voice echoed from the wood. "Give the memory you've hidden from yourself." Elio closed his eyes and whispered the one thing he had never said aloud. "I was the one who left." The gate groaned, and slowly it opened. The gate creaked open, revealing a world unlike the forest behind them. It was quiet, but not with silence. With stillness. Everything beyond was grayscale. The trees, the sky, Even the air felt drained of color. Anna stepped in first. "This is where memory ends," she said. "Not because it's forgotten, but because it was buried." Elio followed, and as he crossed the threshold, he felt it. Weight, grief, the echo of a choice made long ago. The path curved into a valley of mirrors each, one tall, freestanding, cracked in a different way. They didn't reflect the world. They reflected regret. Anna pointed. "Somewhere in here is the truth. Not the story you told yourself, the one you couldn't bear to keep." Elio stepped toward the first mirror, and it showed him, running away. Elio stared into the mirror. It showed a younger version of himself, standing at a hospital door, back turned, walking away before anyone could stop him. He remembered the shoes, the rain, the way he never looked back. The mirror cracked deeper. Anna stood behind him. "You didn't forget. You hid it." Elio's throat tightened. "I couldn't carry it. I thought if I left it behind, I'd be free." Another mirror lit beside them. This one showed a table set for two, a letter unopened, a chair never filled. He moved on. Each reflection peeled back something he had buried. Moments he abandoned, people he let fade. And then he found the mirror with no reflection at all. Just darkness. And inside it, a voice. "You left me here. Familiar. Small. And entirely his own." Elio stepped closer to the mirror with no reflection. It pulsed like breath. Alive. Waiting. The voice came again. "You left me here when you stopped looking," Elio whispered. "Who are you?" The dark inside the glass shifted, and a small figure emerged. A boy, alone, sitting on a floor scattered with drawings and broken toys. His head lifted slowly. "I'm the version of you that waited for someone to come back, for you to say it was okay to feel it all." Elio's hands trembled. "I didn't mean to forget you." The boy's eyes shimmered. "But forgetting doesn't erase us. It traps us." The mirror flickered. And then Elio saw them all the parts of himself he'd turned away from, reaching out, asking for light, asking to be whole again. Elio knelt before the mirror. The boy inside didn't speak again. He didn't have to. His eyes carried everything Elio had buried. Pain, shame, loneliness, hope. Elio placed a hand on the glass. "I'm sorry," he whispered, "for leaving you in the dark, for pretending you didn't matter." The mirror pulsed. Once. Soft. Forgiving. Anna stood behind him, silent, her presence steady, like a flame. Then Elio did something he had never dared before. He opened his arms. Inside the mirror, the boy stood up, stepped forward, and walked into him. It wasn't violent. It wasn't loud. It was a quiet remembering. A return. Elio staggered back. Not broken, not shattered, but whole. And the mirrors began to disappear. The valley grew still. Without the mirrors, the wind returned. The trees whispered again. Color crept back into the sky, slow, uncertain, but real. Anna stepped beside Elio. "You did it," she said softly. "You found him." Elio nodded. "I didn't just find him. I let him come home." They stood in the clearing as the ground beneath them began to glow. Lines of light traced the path they had taken from the gate, through the forest, up the tower. A map made of memory. Then the watch in Elio's hand vibrated. Once, twice, and the hands moved forward, for the first time on their own. The crack on the bell far behind them vanished, and the second bell fell silent. But in that silence, the world began to breathe again. They walked back toward the edge of the forest. The ground felt warmer beneath their feet. The trees no longer leaned inward, but reached toward the sky like they remembered the sun. When they emerged from the woods, the town lay below, quiet but different. Shutters trembled, curtains swayed, and the air no longer held its breath. Anna stopped at the hill's crest. "Elio, look." He followed her gaze. A child ran across the street, laughing. Real. A shopkeeper stepped outside, rubbing sleep from his eyes. One by one, lights flicked on. Doors opened. Voices returned. The town wasn't waking all at once. It was waking gently, like a dream ending without fear. And in that quiet bloom, Elio realized they hadn't just escaped the dream. They had rewritten it. Elio and Anna made their way down the hill. With every step, the town grew brighter. Not in light, but in presence. Children played with half-forgotten toys. A dog barked and chased falling leaves. Someone strummed a guitar on a doorstep, as if no time had passed at all. Yet Elio could feel it beneath the smiles and songs. A thread of silence still lingered. Not fear, not danger, but memory. Anna stopped at the fountain where they had first met. The pocket watch now rested at its center, ticking gently. "You brought the time back," she said. Elio nodded. "No, we did." He looked at her. "But what happens now?" Anna smiled softly. "We live, and we don't forget." Above them, the sky held no bells, only clouds drifting quietly toward morning. The town felt unfamiliar in its warmth. Elio wandered its streets like a visitor, greeting neighbors he didn't remember knowing. But they smiled at him. Some offered bread, others simply nodded, as if they too had dreamed and understood what he had carried back. He passed the bookstore. The same cat lay in the window, but this time it blinked. He paused, staring at its quiet yawn. A small miracle. Inside, the bell above the door jingled softly. No echoes, no whispers, just sound. Anna sat at a table near the window, leafing through a dusty journal. She looked up. "You came back." Elio smiled. "I didn't just come back. I stayed." Outside, the clock tower struck 9. And for the first time in a long time, it meant morning. Elio sat beside Anna in the bookstore's soft light. The journal on the table was filled with names. Some familiar, some strange. He traced a finger down the page. "Are these the people who stayed awake?" Anna nodded. "They're the ones who remembered, or chose to." Elio looked out the window. The streets were full now, not crowded, but alive. Bicycles rolled over cobblestones. Bread baked again. Laughter returned. Not loud, but honest. He whispered, "Do you think it will happen again?" Anna didn't answer right away. Then, softly, it always does. But next time, maybe more of us will listen. They sat in silence, not out of fear but peace. And for the first time, Elio felt like the world didn't need fixing. It just needed remembering. Afternoon settled over the town like a soft blanket. Shadows stretched, but not the kind that followed you, the kind that rested quietly beside your feet. Elio walked past the fountain once more. The watch still ticked, its hands steady, as if it had always belonged there. Children danced in the square, skipping stones across puddles that no longer reflected nightmares. At the edge of the town, the tower stood unchanged, but its door was closed now. Not locked, just quiet. Anna joined him, watching the clouds drift overhead. "Would you go back?" she asked. He shook his head. "No, not because I'm afraid. Because I finally understand." She tilted her head. "Understand what?" "That waking up isn't leaving something behind. It's carrying it with you." The wind stirred gently, and the town exhaled. The sun dipped low, casting golden light across rooftops that once held silence. Elio sat on the train platform, feet dangling, watch in hand. No train schedule, no destination. Just Tamariel, imperfect and moving forward. Anna stood nearby, arms crossed, watching the horizon. "Do you miss who you were?" she asked. Elio thought for a moment. "No," he said. "I miss the past I forgot, but not who I used to be." She smiled. "That's how I know you're really awake." They watched as people came and went, a family with suitcases, an old man humming softly, a painter sketching clouds on torn paper. The town wasn't perfect, but it was alive. And in the steady rhythm of everyday footsteps, Elio heard something he hadn't felt in a long time: belonging. Evening wrapped the town in quiet colors. Candles flickered in windows. Chairs scraped gently across wooden floors. Doors closed, not in fear, but in comfort. Elio wandered slowly, not searching, just existing. Every corner of the town now held a trace of what had happened: a mirror covered, a cracked bell repaired, a child's drawing taped to a wall, showing the sun rising over a sleeping town. He passed the square where silence once ruled. Now, music drifted through the air, soft and imperfect, played by hands that remembered how. Anna joined him one last time beneath the clock tower. "It's starting," she said. Elio looked up. The sky was clear. The stars blinked like they too had just awakened. "Will it ever be the same?" he asked. Anna smiled. "No, but maybe that's the point." And far in the distance, a bell rang not to forget, but to rest. Night settled softly. No storm, no whisper, just stillness, wrapped in the quiet trust of a world that had learned how to wake. Elio stood once more at the station, not waiting, just being. The watch in his hand no longer ticked loudly. It simply kept time. Like everything else. Anna walked up beside him. No words, just presence. They sat together beneath a sky that stretched forever, stars glinting like memories finally at peace. Elio closed his eyes, not to sleep, but to feel. The wind, the breath of the town, the hum of a life remembered. And when he opened them again, the world hadn't changed. He had. No bells, no mirrors, just morning waiting on the other side of quiet. And this time, he would wake without forgetting. If this story made you feel something, stay close. There are more whispers waiting. Subscribe, and let's dream again. Together.